What is up, everybody? 12 here today. Apparently, the gaming industry has caught up to what I've been saying. The first Sony's content for first party content this year is very dry. They're pretty much in a drought for first party content. Sure, they had the VR thing which launched earlier this year. They had the DLC for Horizon Forbidden West, but no major first party AAA games this year besides Spiderman 2, which comes in September, which is a long time away. And that is a crazy long time for no first party content for the market leader, because they bragged about the ridiculous amount of consoles sold this recently. They got really big numbers, but I'm kind of curious, is like, what were people buying with those big numbers? Like, they weren't buying any first party exclusives. Like, no big exclusives came out, but they sold a lot of consoles. So it's just kind of crazy how, Sony only has one big game this year. I mean, sure, they're being carried by Square Enix with the Final Fantasy titles, whether it be 16 or the 7 remake part 2, but mostly only one big exclusive game now. It's kind of funny how, once again, Sony fanboys say that, hey, Xbox has no games. There's no games on that platform. But it seems like each narrative they make usually bites them in the butt, because you could say, hey, PlayStation has no games. There's no big first party games for PlayStation until Spider-Man 2. Don't get me wrong. I am gonna enjoy Spider-Man 2 as well. But you mean to tell me there's only one big game for PlayStation this year, and nobody else is talking about this? I mean, you got one news site talking about this, but the vast majority are dead silence about this issue. While there's no big AAA games for PlayStation, but we got to hear Xbox has no games consistently, but Sony has no games this year. Like I said before, the vast majority don't care about VR, so you can disqualify that. Horizon is a DLC, which is maybe like a few hours and then you're done with it. So it's just like they really have no games this year. So it's very odd, but Xbox gets crucified for having no games. But Sony, maybe a few websites might talk about it, but the vast majority, especially not the big ones, won't talk about it. So that's just interesting. But Marvel Spider-Man 2 will be released during the fiscal year. Sony reassures, but no other AAA content this year. That is wild. Imagine if Xbox only released Starfield this year. Xbox might just release Starfield and release everything else next year. We definitely want to have the whole Redfall 30 frames per second drama. I mean, you couldn't criticize Xbox if Sony's doing the same thing. So I don't know. Yeah, they brag about these 30.4 million sold, but once again, there's no first party content this year, so that's not a real thing to brag about at that point. I don't know. Not to me, anyways. This guy says Spider-Man 2 is the equivalent to 4 AAA Xbox games. I like Spider-Man as much as the next person, but come on. Really? That's kind of ridiculous. This game is going to make me break down and get a PS5. Okay. Okay, PlayStation has one game. This is better. So you didn't like DLC until you did, and now you're hyping a timed demo. PlayStation is awesome. Yeah. That is kind of wild, bro. That is some wild stuff. They're hyping DLC in one game this year, but PlayStation is so amazing. That's kind of wild. Can't wait for Spider-Man. Watch them PS5 sales skyrocket. We also got Final Fantasy 16, not a first-party exclusive. Baldur's Gate 3, it does multi-plat though. Sony is just killing it. Okay. They're killing it by paying Square Enix off to keep their games off Xbox because they knew their year is going to be a drought this year. Even if PlayStation has only 2 AAA games this year, that's 2 more than the 0 games Xbox had last year. Why are we comparing last year? What about this year? You gotta compare it to last year now. Believe me, this game is more than enough. A lot of excuses are being thrown why there's no first party games this year for Sony other than one. They'll claim Final Fantasy as their own too. They already are. Like, they know it's a drought, so they're gonna claim Final Fantasy as a first party game now and as a third party game that if Sony just money had it to keep on their platform. I can understand if they just bought Square Enix as a whole, but they're literally just paying Square Enix to keep the game off Xbox. That's all they're doing, which is sad. PlayStation has no games. This kind of has themes at the moment. PlayStation gamers will be just fine when it comes to games. These games he has listed are coming in the future, not now. So you can say the same thing for Xbox. You can make the same list, but you don't. But you still say Xbox has no games. Okay. No game until November. PlayStation supports the gamers in 2024. Oh man. Yay, we got one game. I really wouldn't care either, but Sony guys are so annoying with their just constant narrative that Xbox has no games. They keep repeating it so much that you kind of have to take jabs every once in a while to say, hey, you don't get any games either this year, but you talk so much about Xbox not having any games, so it's just fascinating. You just see the reality that these narratives just backfire. And they keep making these stupid lists. These games are not right now, they're in the future. Stop seeking attention. Literally, not one single person is saying PlayStation has no games. So is PlayStation guys seeking attention when they say that Xbox has no games consistently, because they do that a lot. I guess you're just completely oblivious to when Sony guys do that the most. I mean, I got multiple consoles, so I'm not gonna be truly affected by this issue. But if you did only have a PS5, you're pretty much just playing multiplats and Spiderman, the first party game when that releases. So, I mean, I don't know. Seems like a pretty dry year for first party content from Sony, which people brag about their Sony's games, but they didn't release too many games at all at this point, especially this year. I always wonder why some people were so sure that Spider-Man 2 was coming this year. Okay. Another year, no Factions 2. Yeah, where is that game at? How long has that been in the making, Factions 2? Like, they have taken their sweet time with that game. And, like, nobody's complaining about that. But, Xbox has no games. We got to keep hearing that nonsense. But literally, PlayStation only has one game coming out this year. One big game coming out this year. Which is very sad. That's extremely sad to see. Doom and Gloom Squad, go get your people. PlayStation got no games. Yeah, Xbox guys are gonna have a fun time with those. PlayStation got no games. This is just embarrassing. Yeah, that kind of is. But once again, nobody's talking about this though. Like, once again, nobody. Like, maybe a few outlets in the game media is talking about this. How Sony has no big games coming out this year. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna conclude it right here. Once again, if this was Xbox, we wouldn't hear the end of it. But because of Sony, a lot of people are doing their best Quiet Place impersonation right now. They're not saying a word about this. So definitely want to see your thoughts down below. Leave a like this video. And as always, thanks for watching, and peace.